The massive ship floated in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. The UES Goliath stretched 15 kilometers from nose to tail and 3 kilometers wide at its thickest point. No human had ever built anything this large before. The ship looked like a flying city with thousands of lights blinking across its hull. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and watched his crew work at their stations. The bridge sat at the front of the ship and had windows that showed the stars ahead. Jake was 45 years old with gray hair and steady hands. He had spent 20 years in Earth's Space Navy waiting for this moment. "All systems are green, Captain," said Chief Engineer Lisa Carter from her station. Lisa was a small woman with red hair who knew every bolt and wire on the ship. She had helped build the Goliath over the past 5 years. The ship had taken the combined efforts of every nation on Earth to complete. Jake nodded and looked at the main screen. It showed a map of their destination in the Kepler 442 system. Strange energy readings had been detected there by deep space probes. Earth Command wanted to know what was causing the readings. Navigation Officer Parker, "How long until we reach the target system?" Jake asked. Chris Parker was young for a navigation officer at only 28 years old. He had the best grades in stellar navigation that the Academy had ever seen. 3 days at current speed, Captain. The new fusion drives are working perfectly. The Goliath had 4 massive fusion engines that could push the ship faster than any vessel Earth had built before. The ship also carried weapons that had never been tested in real combat. Quantum torpedo launchers lined both sides of the hull. Plasma lance arrays could fire beams of superheated matter across vast distances. Communications. "Any word from Earth Command?" Jake asked. Amy Rodriguez sat at the communication station with her headset on. She was listening to messages from Earth that took hours to reach them. "Admiral Williams sends her best wishes, Captain. She says the whole planet is watching." Jake smiled at that. Every person on Earth knew about the Goliath's mission. The ship carried 50,000 crew members, including soldiers, scientists, engineers, and medical staff. It was like a small city traveling through space. Dr. Helen Price walked onto the bridge carrying a tablet computer. She was the head of the science department and one of the smartest people Jake knew. "Captain, I've been studying the energy readings from our destination. They don't match anything in our databases." "What do you think they are, Doctor?" Jake asked. Helen shook her head. "I honestly don't know. The energy patterns are too complex to be natural. Something is generating them." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Earth had never found proof of alien life before. Radio telescopes had listened for signals for over a century without success. If something artificial was in the Kepler system, it would change everything. "Tactical Officer Turner, what's the status of our weapons?" Jake asked. Ben Turner was a large man with thick arms from years of military training. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion and knew combat better than anyone on the ship. "All weapon systems are operational, Captain. Shields are at full power. If we run into trouble, we're ready." The Goliath's shields could stop almost any weapon that Earth could build. The ship's armor was 3 meters thick in some places. It had been designed to survive anything the universe could throw at it. Jake walked to the front of the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere ahead of them was the unknown. His job was to take humanity's greatest achievement into that darkness and bring back answers. "All departments, this is the captain speaking," Jake said into his communication device. His voice echoed through every corridor and room on the ship. "We are now 3 days from our destination. I want all systems checked twice. We don't know what we'll find out there, but we're going to be ready for anything." The crew had trained for 2 years before this mission. They knew their jobs better than anyone in human history. The Goliath represented the best that humanity could achieve when they worked together. Admiral Kate Williams watched from Earth Command as reports came in from the Goliath. She was an older woman who had spent her entire life in space. She had commanded the first mission to Jupiter and had seen humanity spread across the solar system. "The Goliath is performing beyond expectations," reported her aide. "All systems are working perfectly." Kate nodded but felt worried. The energy readings from Kepler 442 had been growing stronger for months. Whatever was out there seemed to be getting more active. She hoped Jake and his crew were ready for what they might find. Back on the Goliath, Jake returned to his private quarters for the night. His room was small but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and window showing space outside. He looked at a picture of his wife and children back on Earth. They were proud of him, but he knew they were also scared. Jake had volunteered for this mission because he believed humanity needed to reach for the stars. Earth was getting crowded and resources were running low. If humans were going to survive in the long term, they needed to find new worlds to live on. The next morning brought routine work as the ship continued toward its destination. Engineers checked the fusion reactors. Scientists studied the strange energy readings. Soldiers practiced combat drills in case they were needed. On the second day, long-range sensors began picking up new signals. They were faint but definitely artificial. Something in the Kepler system was sending out radio waves in patterns that no natural process could create. "Captain, you need to see this," called out Communications Officer Rodriguez from her station. Jake hurried over and looked at her screen. It showed radio signals coming from their destination. The signals were complex with mathematical patterns that clearly showed intelligence behind them. "How many sources are we detecting?" Jake asked. Amy adjusted her controls and listened carefully. "At least 12 different signal sources, Captain. Maybe more. They're all coming from the same general area." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. 12 different signal sources meant multiple ships or bases. Humanity was not alone in the universe after all. "Alert all departments," Jake ordered. "We may have found what we're looking for." The bridge became busy as crew members prepared for possible contact with alien life. No one knew what to expect. The signals could be from peaceful explorers or dangerous enemies. As the third day began, the Goliath sensors detected something that made everyone stop and stare. Ahead of them was not just one or two alien ships, but an entire fleet. More than 200 vessels of various sizes were gathered in the Kepler system. Jake looked at the display showing all those ships and realized that everything was about to change. Humanity was no longer alone, and the Goliath was flying straight into the unknown. The alien fleet spread across space like a wall of metal and light. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the main screen showing more than 200 ships of different shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant insects with multiple arms extending from their hulls. Others were smooth and round like pearls floating in the darkness. A few had strange geometric patterns that hurt to look at for too long. "My God," whispered Dr. Helen Price as she studied the sensor readings. "Captain, these ships represent at least 12 different construction methods. We're looking at vessels from multiple alien species." Jake felt sweat on his forehead but kept his voice steady. "I'll stop. Reduce speed to 0 and hold position here." The Goliath's massive engines powered down, and the ship drifted to a halt still several million kilometers from the alien fleet. The distance was close enough for detailed scans but far enough to avoid seeming threatening. Communications Officer Rodriguez, "Are you picking up any signals from those ships?" Jake asked. Amy Rodriguez had her headset on and was listening intently to dozens of different transmissions. "Captain, I'm hearing at least 15 different languages. The patterns are completely unlike anything in our databases. Some sound like music, others like static, and a few sound almost like whale songs." Chief Engineer Lisa Carter looked up from her station with concern on her face. "Captain, several of those ships are much larger than ours. The biggest one is almost 20 kilometers long. Their energy signatures are off the charts." Jake nodded and walked to the tactical station where Ben Turner was studying the alien vessels. "What's your assessment, tactical officer?" Ben's jaw was tight with tension. "Captain, at least 50 of those ships are showing weapon signatures. They're not pointing them at us yet, but they're definitely armed. The good news is our shields and armor appear stronger than most of what I'm seeing." The bridge fell quiet except for the hum of electronics and the distant sound of the ship's life support systems. Everyone was thinking the same thing. This was the moment that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. "Captain," called out Amy from communications, "I'm detecting a change in their transmission patterns. Several ships are now broadcasting directly toward us." Jake straightened his uniform and made a decision that would echo through history. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to attempt first contact with alien civilizations. I want everyone to remain calm and follow orders. We represent all of humanity today." The largest alien ship began moving slowly toward the Goliath. It was a massive vessel that looked like a crystal cathedral floating through space. Transparent sections showed lights moving inside like living thoughts. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Captain, that ship is transmitting mathematical sequences directly at us," Amy reported. "It's starting with prime numbers, then moving to geometric patterns. I think they're trying to establish basic communication." Dr. Price hurried to the communication station and began working with Amy to decode the alien signals. Captain, this is brilliant. They're using universal mathematical concepts that any intelligent species would understand. Give me a few minutes and I think we can respond. Jake watched the alien ship approach while his science team worked frantically to establish communication. The vessel stopped about 1 million kilometers away and began transmitting more complex patterns. Lights on its hull blinked in sequences that clearly showed intelligence behind them. "Got it!" shouted Dr. Price with excitement. "Captain, I can translate their basic message. They're asking us to identify ourselves and state our intentions." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These were the best and brightest humans alive, and they were all looking to him for leadership. He walked to the communication station and picked up the transmission device. "Dr. Price, translate this message and send it back to them. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Goliath representing the human species from the planet Earth. We come in peace seeking knowledge and friendship with other intelligent life." Dr. Price worked quickly to convert Jake's words into mathematical patterns that could be transmitted to the aliens. The message went out across space carrying humanity's first words to another species. The response came back within minutes. Amy listened carefully and translated with Dr. Price's help. "Captain, they're asking about our ship. They want to know how we built something so large and powerful." Jake realized that the aliens were impressed by the Goliath. That was both good and bad news. It meant they respected human technology, but it also might make them see humans as a threat. More ships began moving closer to observe the massive human vessel. Jake could see them through the bridge windows as small points of light that grew larger as they approached. Each ship was different, showing the diversity of alien civilizations gathered here. "Captain, I'm detecting energy spikes from multiple alien vessels," reported Ben Turner. "They're powering up weapon systems, but they're not targeting us directly. I think they're just being cautious." Jake made another important decision. "Tactical Officer Turner, raise our shields to full power but do not charge weapons. I want them to see that we're defensive but not aggressive." The Goliath shields activated with a blue glow that surrounded the entire ship. The energy field was visible to the naked eye and clearly showed the vessel's defensive capabilities. Several alien ships immediately responded by backing away to a safer distance. "Captain, we're receiving a new transmission," Amy announced. "It's coming from a different ship. This one looks like a massive metal tree with branches extending in all directions." Dr. Price worked to translate the new message. "Captain, this ship identifies itself as representing the Galactic Commerce Guild. They're welcoming us to this region of space and requesting a formal meeting." Jake felt his heart pounding. A galactic government had just invited humanity to make official contact. Everything they did next would determine whether humans became part of this larger community or remained isolated on Earth. "Send this response," Jake told Dr. Price. "We accept your invitation to meet. We are honored by your welcome and hope to establish peaceful relations between our species." As the message went out, Jake noticed that more alien ships were arriving. The fleet was growing larger by the hour, as word spread through their communication networks about the appearance of the massive human vessel. "Captain, I'm counting over 300 ships now," reported Chris Parker from navigation. "They're coming from all directions. Some of those new arrivals are truly enormous." Dr. Price looked up from her work with amazement on her face. "Captain, I'm picking up fragments of their internal communications. They're calling us the builders of the great vessel. They seem to think our ship is some kind of mobile fortress." Jake smiled grimly. The Goliath was indeed a fortress, but it was also humanity's greatest achievement. The ship represented everything humans could accomplish when they worked together toward a common goal. The crystal ship that had first approached them sent another message. This time it included visual images along with the mathematical patterns. The images showed the interior of their vessel with tall, graceful beings that looked like living plants made of silver and light. "Captain, they're inviting a small group from our ship to visit their vessel for face-to-face contact," Dr. Price translated. "They're offering to send representatives to the Goliath as well." Jake looked out at the growing alien fleet and made the decision that would change human history forever. "Send this message. We accept your invitation and look forward to meeting face-to-face." The shuttle bay of the Goliath buzzed with activity as Commander Alex Hughes prepared for the most important mission in human history. Alex was a tall man with steady nerves who had led dozens of dangerous missions in Earth's outer colonies. Today he would represent humanity in face-to-face contact with alien beings. "Remember, we don't know their customs or what might offend them. Dr. Helen Price said as she checked her translation device one more time. Let me do most of the talking until we understand how they communicate. Alex nodded and looked at his small team. Besides Dr. Price, he was taking communications officer Amy Rodriguez and a single security guard named Tony Brooks. Tony was armed but had orders to keep his weapons hidden unless absolutely necessary. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the shuttle bay's observation deck as the team boarded their small transport ship. The shuttle was tiny compared to the Goliath, but it was the most advanced vessel that Earth had built before the Great Warship. Jake felt nervous about sending his people into the unknown, but this meeting could determine humanity's future among the stars. Shuttle is away, Captain, reported the bay controller. They'll reach the alien vessel in 20 minutes. Jake returned to the bridge where the main screen showed the alien fleet surrounding them. More ships had arrived during the night, and the count was now over 400 vessels. Each ship was different, showing the incredible diversity of species that had gathered to witness humanity's first contact. The crystal ship that would host the meeting was called the Harmony of Thoughts according to the translations they had worked out. It belonged to a species called the Valthians who seemed to be natural diplomats. Their ambassador was named Zekthar, though the humans had no idea how to pronounce it correctly. As Alex's shuttle approached the alien vessel, he could see other small ships arriving from different directions. Each carried representatives from various alien species who wanted to witness this historic moment. The meeting would include 12 different civilizations. Commander Hughes, this is the Goliath, came Jake's voice over the radio. How are you doing over there? Alex looked out the shuttle window at the massive crystal ship growing larger ahead of them. Captain, this vessel is beautiful. It looks like a cathedral made of living light. I can see beings moving around inside through the transparent sections. The Valthian ship guided the human shuttle to a docking bay that adjusted its size to fit the smaller vessel. As Alex and his team stepped out, they found themselves in a room filled with soft musical sounds and gentle lighting that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The first alien Alex saw took his breath away. Ambassador Zekthar stood 3 meters tall with a body that looked like silver tree branches woven together in the shape of a person. Tiny lights moved through the alien's body like glowing sap, flowing through transparent veins. When Zekthar spoke, the words sounded like wind chimes mixed with ocean waves. Dr. Price's translation device worked hard to convert the alien's speech into English. Welcome, builders of the great vessel. I am Zekthar, voice of the Valthian Confederacy. Your ship has caused much discussion among the gathered civilizations. Alex stepped forward and tried to remain calm despite the strangeness of the situation. I am Commander Alex Hughes, representing Captain Jake Morrison and the human species. We are honored to meet you and grateful for your welcome. Other aliens began entering the meeting chamber, and Alex's eyes widened at the variety of life forms. There were insect-like beings with multiple arms and compound eyes that sparkled like jewels. Creatures that looked like living rocks moved slowly across the floor, leaving trails of glowing dust behind them. One species appeared to be made entirely of swirling gas held together by some kind of energy field. Your vessel is unprecedented in our experience, said a new voice. This came from a being that looked like a giant butterfly with wings that showed swirling galaxies instead of normal patterns. We have never seen a single ship with such massive weapons and defensive capabilities. Dr. Price translated Alex's response. The Goliath represents humanity's greatest technological achievement. We built it to explore the galaxy and protect our people as we venture into the unknown. A third alien spoke up. This one resembled a walking crystal formation with multiple faces that reflected light in strange ways. Your species is new to interstellar travel, yet you have built a vessel that could challenge entire star nations. How is this possible? Alex realized that the aliens were both impressed and concerned by human technology. He needed to be honest but also reassuring. Humans have always been good at building things and solving problems. Our planet has many different environments and challenges, so we learned to create tools that work in any situation. Ambassador Zekthar's lights pulsed in what seemed like agreement. Yes, we have studied your radio transmissions for many decades. Your species shows remarkable adaptability and innovation, but such power in the hands of newcomers concerns some of our members. The meeting continued for hours as the aliens asked questions about human technology, culture, and intentions. Alex learned that the galaxy was home to hundreds of intelligent species, organized into various alliances and trade groups. The Galactic Commerce Guild was the largest organization, maintaining peace through economic cooperation rather than military force. Your arrival changes the balance of power in this region, explained an alien that looked like a living plant with flowers for eyes. Most conflicts here are resolved through negotiation and economic pressure. Single ships rarely matter in such disputes. Alex began to understand the situation. The galaxy had achieved relative peace by ensuring that no single species could dominate others militarily. The appearance of the Goliath threatened this balance because it was powerful enough to tip the scales in any conflict. "We don't want to threaten anyone," Alex assured them. "Humans prefer to solve problems through talking rather than fighting. We built the Goliath to be strong enough to protect ourselves, not to conquer others." A new alien entered the chamber, and Alex could sense the tension level rise immediately. This being was covered in dark metal armor and had red eyes that glowed like burning coals. When it spoke, the words came out like grinding metal. "I am War Leader Krex of the Dominion Fleet," the armored alien announced. "We have come to assess this human threat to galactic stability. Your vessel's weapons could destroy entire planets." Dr. Price's translation device struggled with the harsh alien language, but the meaning was clear. Not all species welcomed humanity's arrival. Some saw the Goliath as a weapon that upset the careful balance they had worked centuries to maintain. Alex kept his voice calm and respectful. "War Leader Krex, humans have no desire to destroy planets or threaten peaceful species. We built our ship to be strong because we didn't know what we might find in the galaxy. Now that we know you exist, we hope to become friends and trading partners." Ambassador Zekthar's lights flickered rapidly, which Dr. Price's device translated as concern. "War Leader Krex speaks for a faction that believes new species should be carefully controlled until they prove themselves peaceful. Your ship's power makes such control impossible." Alex realized he was in the middle of a political situation that could determine whether humanity was welcomed into galactic civilization or treated as a threat to be contained. Everything he said now would affect the future of his entire species. "Perhaps we can demonstrate our peaceful intentions," Alex suggested. "What if we shared some of our technology with species that need it? Humans are good at building things that help people." The suggestion caused excited discussion among the various aliens. Several species seemed very interested in human engineering capabilities, while others remained suspicious of humanity's motives. War Leader Krex stepped closer to Alex, his red eyes glowing brighter. "Actions speak louder than words, human. We will watch your great vessel and see if your species truly seeks peace or conquest." As the meeting ended, Alex felt both hopeful and worried. Humanity had made contact with galactic civilization, but the road ahead would be challenging. The galaxy's response to the Goliath would determine whether humans became partners or enemies in the vast community of stars. The Goliath's main conference room had been transformed into a diplomatic center, unlike anything in human history. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the head of a massive table surrounded by holographic projections of alien representatives from across the galaxy. The room hummed with translation, devices working to convert dozens of different languages into something humans could understand, Admiral. Kate Williams had arrived 3 days earlier, aboard the escort ship UES Guardian along with a small fleet of Earth's most advanced vessels. The Admiral was a stern woman with silver hair, who had commanded space operations for over 20 years. She sat beside Jake and studied the alien faces on the screens with sharp eyes. "The Galactic Commerce Guild has made an unprecedented offer," announced Ambassador Zekthar through the holographic display. The Velthian silver form pulsed with gentle lights as he spoke. "We invite humanity to join our organization with full membership rights and immediate access to 12 star systems for colonization." Jake felt his heart race at the implications. 12 star systems would give humanity room to grow for centuries. It was beyond anything Earth's leaders had hoped for when they launched the Goliath. "However," continued a new voice, this one belonging to the butterfly-like being called High Counselor Vex, "we require certain guarantees from your species. The galaxy has maintained peace through careful balance. Your vessel disrupts that balance." Admiral Williams leaned forward and spoke for the first time. "What kind of guarantees are you seeking?" The crystal-faced alien named Prime Negotiator Quen answered with multiple voices speaking in harmony. "We propose that humanity agrees to build additional vessels like the Goliath to serve as neutral peacekeepers. Your ships would patrol disputed regions and prevent conflicts before they start. Jake exchanged glances with Admiral Williams. The request was both flattering and concerning. The aliens wanted to use human military power to maintain galactic peace, but that would make Earth responsible for conflicts they barely understood. "We need time to discuss this with our government," Admiral Williams said carefully. "These are major decisions that affect our entire species." Dr. Helen Price looked up from her translation console with excitement on her face. "Admiral Captain, I've been analyzing their technology databases. These species have scientific knowledge that could advance human civilization by centuries. Medical techniques that could cure diseases we've never solved. Energy systems that could power our cities forever. The temptation was enormous. Joining the galactic community would give humanity access to knowledge and resources beyond imagination. But it would also make Earth part of political conflicts that had been going on for thousands of years. "There is another matter we must address," said War Leader Krex, the armored alien whose voice still sounded like grinding metal. "Some species in this galaxy do not welcome newcomers with such military capability. The hegemony of pure thought considers your vessel a threat to established order." A new holographic display activated, showing a fleet of sleek black ships approaching from the edge of the system. These vessels moved with perfect coordination and showed no individual design variations. They looked like they had been grown rather than built. "The hegemony believes that powerful newcomers must prove their worthiness through trial by combat," Krex continued. "They are sending a war fleet to challenge your great vessel." Jake felt the blood drain from his face. "How many ships are they sending?" 57 vessels of their primary battle class," answered Ambassador Zekthar with obvious concern. "The hegemony rarely acts directly, but your ship's power has convinced them that immediate action is necessary." Admiral Williams stood up, and her voice carried the authority of decades in command. "Captain Morrison, prepare the Goliath for possible combat. I want all weapon systems checked and shields at maximum power." Jake activated the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We have a potential hostile fleet approaching. Battle stations. This is not a drill." Throughout the massive ship, 50,000 crew members moved to their emergency positions. Weapon crews loaded the quantum torpedo launchers, while engineers brought the fusion reactors to full power. The plasma lance arrays charged with energy that could melt through solid metal from thousands of kilometers away. "Captain," called out Tactical Officer Ben Turner from his station. "The approaching ships are maintaining formation, but they haven't powered weapons yet. They're definitely military vessels, though." Dr. Helen Price worked frantically at her console. "Captain, I'm intercepting their communications. The hegemony ships are demanding that we prove our strength in single combat. They want to fight the Goliath one ship at a time until we're defeated or they run out of vessels." Jake looked at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet. Each hegemony ship was about half the size of the Goliath, but they were designed purely for warfare. Their hulls showed weapon ports and armor plating that spoke of a species devoted to military perfection. "Admiral, what are your orders?" Jake asked. Admiral Williams studied the display with the calculating look of a veteran commander. "Captain, we didn't come this far to back down from a fight. If they want to test our strength, we'll show them what human engineering can accomplish." Ambassador Zekthar's image flickered with rapid light patterns that the translation system interpreted as extreme concern. "Admiral Williams, the hegemony has never been defeated in single combat. Their ships are crewed by beings bred specifically for warfare. Perhaps negotiation would be wiser." "Sometimes the only way to earn respect is to show strength," Admiral Williams replied. "If we run from this fight, every species in the galaxy will see humans as weak. We'll accept their challenge." The first hegemony ship broke away from their fleet and approached the Goliath. It was a sleek vessel covered in strange symbols that seemed to move across its hull like living writing. As it came closer, Jake could see weapon ports opening along its sides. "Incoming transmission from the hegemony vessel," reported Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez. "They're challenging us to honorable combat according to their ancient traditions." Jake walked to the center of the bridge and felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The next few hours would determine whether humanity earned a place among the stars or was driven back to Earth in defeat. "Send this response," Jake told Amy. "We accept your challenge. The United Earthship Goliath will face your vessel in single combat." The hegemony ship moved to a position 1,000 kilometers away and began powering its weapons. Energy readings showed that it carried armaments capable of destroying most vessels in a single strike. But the Goliath was not most vessels. "All weapons ready, Captain," reported Ben Turner. "Shields at maximum power. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These men and women represented the best that humanity could produce. They had trained for years to operate the most advanced warship ever built. Now they would find out if human technology and determination could stand against an enemy that had never known defeat. "Fire when ready." "Tactical officer," Jake ordered. The first shot of humanity's entry into galactic warfare lit up the darkness of space as quantum torpedoes streaked toward the enemy ship. The alien vessel responded with beams of pure energy that struck the Goliath's shields in brilliant flashes of light. The battle for humanity's future had begun, and the entire galaxy was watching to see who would emerge victorious. The space between the Goliath and the hegemony ship filled with deadly energy as both vessels unleashed their weapons. Quantum torpedoes from the human ship exploded against alien shields in brilliant flashes of blue light, while enemy plasma beams struck the Goliath's defensive barriers with tremendous force. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the command chair as the ship shook under enemy fire. The bridge lights flickered but remained steady as Chief Engineer Lisa Carter's team kept the power systems running at maximum efficiency. Through the windows, Jake could see the alien vessel maneuvering with incredible speed despite its large size. "Direct hit on their forward shields," reported Tactical Officer Ben Turner with satisfaction. "Their defensive energy is down to 60%. The hegemony ship responded by firing a massive energy beam that struck the Goliath's port side. The human ship's shields flared white-hot as they absorbed the attack, but they held firm against the alien weapon. "Our shields are holding at 85%, called out Lisa Carter from her engineering station. "The new defensive systems are working better than we hoped." Jake felt pride in his crew and ship, but he knew the battle was far from over. The hegemony vessel was powerful, and its crew clearly knew how to fight. However, the Goliath had advantages that the aliens had not expected. "Target their weapon systems," Jake ordered. "Let's see how they handle our plasma lance arrays." The Goliath's most powerful weapons charged with energy that made the air itself hum with electricity. 6 massive plasma beams fired simultaneously at the enemy ship, each one carrying enough power to melt through solid metal armor. The alien vessel's shields collapsed under the concentrated fire, and 2 of the plasma beams struck its hull directly. Sections of the enemy ship's armor melted away like ice under a blowtorch, revealing the internal structure beneath. "Enemy vessel is venting atmosphere," reported Ben Turner. "Looks like we breached their hull in multiple places." The hegemony ship tried to retreat to a safer distance, but the Goliath's weapons had a longer range than expected. Jake watched as his crew continued the attack with precision and determination that would have made Earth proud. "They're surrendering," announced Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez with surprise in her voice. "The hegemony ship is transmitting a message of defeat and withdrawal." Jake felt relief wash over him as the enemy vessel limped away from the battle zone. The Goliath had faced its first real test against alien technology and emerged victorious. More importantly, they had done it without destroying the enemy ship or killing its crew. "Excellent work, everyone," Jake announced to his crew. "You've just won humanity's first space battle against an alien opponent." The holographic displays in the conference room showed dozens of alien species reacting to the battle's outcome. Some looked amazed. Others seemed worried, but all of them clearly understood that humanity was now a major power in the galaxy. Ambassador Zekthar's silver form pulsed with rapid lights as he spoke. "Captain Morrison, your victory over the hegemony is unprecedented. No species has defeated them in single combat for over 3 centuries. Admiral Kate Williams stood beside Jake with a satisfied expression on her weathered face. The Goliath performed exactly as designed. Human engineering and training proved superior to an enemy that was supposed to be unbeatable. War leader Krex, the armored alien who had previously seemed hostile, now spoke with what sounded like respect. "The Dominion fleet acknowledges human strength. Your species has earned the right to be treated as equals in galactic affairs." Dr. Helen Price looked up from her console with excitement. "Captain, I'm receiving messages from over 40 different species. They're all requesting trade agreements and technology exchanges with humanity." Jake realized that winning the battle had changed everything. Instead of being seen as dangerous newcomers, humans were now viewed as valuable allies who could provide protection and advanced technology to other species. The Galactic Commerce Guild formally welcomes humanity as a full member, announced High Counselor Vex, the butterfly-like alien whose wings showed swirling galaxies. We offer immediate access to 15 star systems instead of the original 12, along with full trading rights throughout guild space. 6 months later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the Goliath as it patrolled the border between two alien territories that had been in conflict for decades. The massive human ship's presence had ended the fighting without a single shot being fired. Both sides preferred negotiation to facing the vessel that had defeated the mighty hegemony. The ship itself had become famous throughout the galaxy. Alien children played with toy models of the Goliath while their parents spoke of the peaceful giants from Earth who protected the weak and maintained justice among the stars. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Johnson now commanded a growing diplomatic corps with offices on dozens of alien worlds. Steve was a patient man with a gift for understanding different cultures, and he had helped establish human embassies throughout guild space. Trade between Earth and alien civilizations had brought prosperity to both humans and their new partners. Chief Engineer Lisa Carter had been promoted to head of technological development for the entire guild. Her innovations in faster-than-light travel had revolutionized space transportation, while her improvements to defensive systems had made all guild worlds safer from outside threats. Dr. Helen Price published research papers that were studied on hundreds of planets. Her work on interspecies communication had made it possible for different alien cultures to understand each other better than ever before. The galaxy had become more united thanks to human scientific advances. Back on Earth, construction had begun on 6 additional Titan-class warships. Each new vessel incorporated improvements learned from contact with alien technology, making them even more powerful than the original Goliath. The ships would serve as peacekeepers throughout guild space, ensuring that conflicts were resolved through words rather than weapons. Jake received a message from Earth Command informing him that the newest ship, the UES Atlas, was ready for its maiden voyage. The Atlas would be commanded by Captain Maria Santos, who had trained under Jake's supervision. She would take her ship to explore regions of the galaxy that remained unmapped. Captain Morrison to the bridge, came the announcement over the ship's communication system. Jake left the observation deck and walked through corridors filled with both human and alien crew members working together. The Goliath now served as a training ship, where young beings from dozens of species learned to operate advanced technology. On the bridge, Communications Officer Amy Rodriguez reported that they were receiving a distress call from a research station near the galactic core. An ancient automated defense system had activated and was threatening to destroy an entire solar system. Set course for the galactic core, Jake ordered, maximum speed. As the Goliath's engines powered up for the journey, Jake thought about how much had changed since their first contact with alien life. Humanity had gone from being alone in the universe to becoming leaders of a galactic community dedicated to peace and exploration. The ship's newest crew member, a young Velthian named Silandra, worked alongside Tony Brooks at the tactical station. Tony had been promoted to Chief of Security and now trained alien officers in human military techniques. The sight of different species working together filled Jake with hope for the future. The Goliath jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying its mixed crew toward another crisis that required human strength and alien wisdom working together. Behind them, the galaxy continued to grow more peaceful and prosperous thanks to the partnership between humanity and the stars. Jake smiled as he watched his crew prepare for their next mission. The human species had reached for the stars and found not enemies but friends waiting to welcome them home. Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive alien ship through the view screen of his vessel. The Vorthak warship was 3 times the size of his own diplomatic ship, the Endeavor. Its dark metal hull gleamed with strange purple lights that pulsed, like a heartbeat. Jake had seen many alien ships in his 5 years as a captain, but the Vorthak vessels always made him feel small. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet," said Lieutenant Kelly Barnes from her communications station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. "Put it on screen," Jake ordered. The view screen flickered and showed the face of Ambassador Kethalar. The Vorthak leader had gray skin like stone and 4 yellow eyes that never seemed to blink. When he spoke, his voice was deep and cold like winter wind. Human vessel, you will transmit our message to your homeworld immediately, Kethalar said. The Galactic Council has made its final decision about your species. Jake kept his face calm even though his heart was beating fast. We're ready to receive your message, Ambassador. Kethalar's 4 eyes seemed to glow brighter. For 30 years, we have allowed humans to sit in our council meetings. We have watched your kind spread to new worlds like insects. This patience ends today. The alien leaned forward in his chair. Behind him, Jake could see other species representatives. There was War Chief Bulgar of the Krugan, a massive creature, covered in black armor. Next to him sat Mystic Villana of the Zelani, her blue skin marked with silver tattoos that moved like living things. Humanity will withdraw from all worlds beyond your birth system, Kethalar continued. You will accept your place as junior members of Galactic Society. You will pay tribute to the elder races and follow our guidance in all matters. Jake felt his hands tighten into fists, but he kept them hidden under his command console. And if we refuse? Kethalar showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. Then the combined fleets of the Vorthak Empire, the Krugan hegemony, and the Zelani Confederation will teach your species proper respect. We have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, while your ancestors were still learning to make fire. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. The transmission ended, leaving Jake staring at empty space filled with alien warships. He counted at least 50 vessels in the immediate area, and his sensors detected many more jumping into the system every few minutes. Sir, should I open a channel to Earth Command? Asked Lieutenant Barnes. Do it, Jake said. Priority 1 transmission, to Admiral Carter. The face of Admiral Lisa Carter appeared on screen within minutes. She was a tough woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp green eyes. She had fought in the border wars against space pirates and earned respect from every human in the fleet. Captain Morrison, I've been expecting your call, she said. Our long-range sensors picked up the alien fleet movements. How bad is it? They want us to give up everything, Admiral. All colonies, all expansion, everything except Earth and the inner system. They're calling it corrective action if we refuse. Admiral Carter was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see her thinking, weighing, options that probably didn't exist. The human fleet had 200 ships total. Good ships with brave crews, but nothing compared to what was gathering outside Earth's solar system. How long do we have? She asked. Kethalar didn't give a specific deadline, but from the way he spoke, not long. Maybe days, maybe weeks. Understood. Return to Earth immediately, Captain. We need every ship we can get. The transmission ended and Jake turned to his crew. They were all looking at him with the same question in their eyes. What could humanity possibly do against forces that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years? Set course for Earth, maximum speed, Jake ordered. As the Endeavour turned away from the alien fleet, Jake thought about his daughter Emma back on Earth. She was only 8 years old and loved to draw pictures of spaceships exploring distant stars. What kind of future would she have if humanity became servants to alien masters? 3 days later, Jake stood in Admiral Carter's office at Earth Defense Headquarters. Through the large windows, he could see the human fleet gathering in orbit. Ships from every colony and outpost were arriving, but Jake knew it wouldn't be enough. The numbers are simple, Captain, Admiral Carter said, pointing to a display showing fleet strengths. They have over 50,000 ships. We have 200. Even if every human ship fought perfectly and destroyed 20 enemy vessels each, we'd still lose. Jake studied the display. What about asking for help from neutral species? I've tried. The Altarians won't get involved. The Nexus Collective is staying neutral. Everyone's afraid of the elder races. Admiral Carter sat down heavily in her chair. Face it, Jake. We're alone in this. That's when Dr. Nathan Brooks entered the office. The scientist was thin and nervous, with wild brown hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it. He carried a data pad that shook in his trembling fingers. Admiral Carter, I need to speak with you immediately, he said. It's about the deep ocean excavation project. Doctor, we don't have time for archaeology right now, Admiral Carter replied. Please, Admiral. This could change everything. Doctor. Brooks set his data pad on her desk and activated a holographic display. 6 months ago, my team found something in the Mariana Trench. something that shouldn't exist. The hologram showed sonar images of the ocean floor. At first, Jake saw nothing unusual. Then Dr. Brooks highlighted certain areas and the patterns became clear. Straight lines and geometric shapes buried under miles of sediment and rock. These are artificial structures, Dr. Brooks said, built by intelligent beings and old beyond anything we've ever discovered. The dating shows they're at least 65,000 years old. Admiral Carter leaned forward. Alien ruins? That's what we thought at first. But the deeper we dug, the more we found. And, Admiral, the technology readings we're getting... Dr. Brooks paused and took a deep breath. They're off our charts. Whatever civilization built this was more advanced than anything in the current galaxy. Jake felt a strange hope stirring in his chest. You think there might be weapons down there? Something we could use? I don't know, Dr. Brooks admitted, but I do know this. Whoever built these structures had technology that makes the Vorthak look primitive. If there's even a chance that some of it still works. Admiral Carter stood up and walked to the window. Outside, more human ships were arriving from distant colonies. Families were saying goodbye to fathers and mothers who might never come home. How long would it take to mount an expedition? She asked. With military support, maybe a week to get the equipment in place. The structures are deep, Admiral. Deeper than we've ever gone before. Admiral Carter turned back to face them. In her eyes, Jake saw the same desperate hope he felt. Dr. Brooks, you have whatever resources you need. Captain Morrison, you'll lead the military escort. She looked at both men. This might be our only chance. If there's something down there that can help us, we have to find it. As they left the Admiral's office, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to discover something that would change not just the coming war, but everything humanity thought it knew about itself. The deep-sea mining platform floated above the Mariana Trench like a metal island in the dark ocean. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the deck watching the sun disappear behind gray clouds. The wind was getting stronger and waves crashed against the platform's support pillars. Captain, the mining equipment is ready, said Colonel Amy Rodriguez. She was a tough Marine with short black hair and scars on her hands from years of combat. My teams are suited up and ready to go down. Dr. Nathan Brooks joined them at the platform's edge. He wore a thick coat against the cold ocean air and carried a waterproof case full of scanning equipment. The readings are getting stronger the deeper we go. Whatever's down there is definitely artificial. Jake looked down at the dark water. Somewhere far below, buried under miles of sediment, lay structures that might save humanity. Or they might find nothing but old rocks and broken dreams. How deep are we talking, Doctor? Jake asked. The main structure starts at about 15,000 feet down. But it goes much deeper than that. Our sonar can't find the bottom of it. Dr. Brooks opened his case and showed them a tablet computer. Look at this image. The screen showed a three-dimensional map of the ocean floor. Most of it looked normal, but in one area, straight lines and perfect circles cut through the natural rock formations. The patterns were too regular to be natural. It looks like a city, Colonel Rodriguez said quietly. That's what we think too, Dr. Brooks replied. A city built by someone with technology we don't understand. The metal composition alone is unlike anything in our databases. Jake studied the image. If this really was some kind of ancient city, who had built it? And more importantly, why was it hidden under the ocean? Captain, we have a problem, called Lieutenant Kelly Barnes from the communication station. Admiral Carter is on the line. Priority 1. Jake walked to the communication console and activated the secure channel. Admiral Carter's face appeared on the screen and she looked worried. Captain, the alien fleets are moving. Our long-range sensors show massive formations heading toward the outer colonies. We estimate they'll reach Mars in 72 hours. What about the deadline they gave us? Jake asked. Apparently they've decided not to wait for our answer. Colony ships are already evacuating from the outer worlds. Admiral Carter paused. Jake, I need to know if you found anything useful down there. We're just starting the deep excavation. Now, Admiral, Dr. Brooks thinks the main structures are still several thousand feet down. You have 48 hours, Captain. After that, I need every ship and every Marine back here for the defense of Earth. The transmission ended. leaving Jake staring at his reflection in the blank screen. 48 hours to find something that might not even exist, you heard the Admiral, Jake said to his team. We go down now. The descent took 3 hours in the specially built submersible. Jake watched through the porthole as sunlight faded to black and the crushing depth of the ocean surrounded them. The submersible's lights cut through the darkness, showing strange fish and floating particles. Depth 12,000 feet and descending, reported the pilot, Chief Petty Officer Tony Walsh. He was a veteran submarine operator with steady hands and nerves of steel. Sonar contact, called Dr. Brooks from his instrument panel. Large structure directly ahead. It's huge, Captain. Jake pressed his face to the porthole and saw something that made his breath catch. Rising from the ocean floor, like a mountain, was a massive structure made of dark metal. The surface was covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Those symbols, Dr. Brooks whispered. They're moving. He was right. The symbols on the structure's surface were shifting and changing like living things. As their submersible got closer, more details became visible. The structure wasn't just one building, but a complex of interconnected towers and domes. Captain, look at this. Colonel Rodriguez pointed to another porthole. There are more of them. Jake looked where she was pointing and saw other structures stretching away into the darkness. Some were tall towers, others were low and wide like aircraft hangars. All of them were covered in the same glowing symbols. How big is this place? Jake asked. Dr. Brooks was working frantically at his instruments. The sonar shows structures, extending for at least 50 miles in every direction. This isn't just a city, Captain, it's a civilization. They found a flat area near the base of the largest structure, and Tony carefully landed the submersible. Outside, the ocean floor was covered with what looked like metal plates arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Atmosphere readings show the structures are sealed, Dr. Brooks reported. There's actually air inside some of these buildings. Air? Colonel Rodriguez asked. After 65,000 years? The technology that built this place is beyond anything we understand. The metal itself seems to be self-repairing. Look at the hull scans. Jake studied the readings. Despite being underwater for thousands of years, the structures showed no signs of corrosion or damage. The metal was as perfect as the day it was built. Colonel, take your team and establish a perimeter, Jake ordered. Doctor, you and I are going inside. They put on their deep-sea suits and left the submersible through the airlock. The water was so dark that their helmet lights only showed a few feet ahead. But as they approached the nearest structure, something amazing happened. The symbols on. The walls began to glow brighter as if responding to their presence. A section of the wall that had looked solid suddenly became transparent, revealing a tunnel leading inside. Captain, are you seeing this? Dr. Brooks asked over the radio. I see it. The structure is reacting to us. They walked through the transparent opening and found themselves in a corridor filled with breathable air. Their depth suits registered normal atmospheric pressure. The walls were covered with more of the moving symbols, and soft light came from panels in the ceiling. This is impossible, Dr. Brooks said. The technology to maintain this environment underwater for thousands of years doesn't exist. They walked deeper into the structure, following corridors that seemed to stretch forever. Finally, they entered a vast circular room with a domed ceiling. In the center of the room stood something that made them both stop and stare. It was a pillar of crystal that stretched from floor to ceiling, and inside the crystal were images, not pictures, but three-dimensional scenes that moved and changed, like living memories. The images showed humans, but not like any humans Jake had ever seen. These humans wore advanced armor and carried weapons that glowed with energy. They flew ships that looked like living creatures and commanded technology that seemed like magic. The images showed great cities on distant worlds and fleets of starships traveling between the stars. Dr. Brooks, Jake said quietly, I don't think these structures are alien at all. What do you mean? Jake pointed at the crystal pillar. Look at the faces in those images. Look at their bone structure, their body types. Those aren't aliens, Doctor. Those are humans. Dr. Brooks activated his scanning equipment and aimed it at the crystal. You're right, Captain. The genetic markers in these images are definitely human, But that's impossible. Humans didn't have this kind of technology 65,000 years ago. Maybe we did, Jake said. Maybe we just forgot. As they watched, the images in the crystal changed to show something that made Jake's heart race. Massive ships, sleek and beautiful, resting in underground chambers. The ships looked like they were waiting, as if they were only sleeping. "Captain," Colonel Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio. "You need to see this. We found something. Big." Jake and Dr. Brooks hurried back through the corridors to where the colonel was waiting. She led them to another section of the structure, where her Marines had found a sealed door. The door was covered in symbols that pulsed with red light. The bang! Door opened when Private Helen Davis touched it. Colonel Rodriguez explained. "Captain, there's something behind this door that our sensors can't identify. It's large, metallic, and it's giving off enormous energy readings." Jake approached the door and placed his hand on the symbols. The door responded immediately, sliding open with a soft hiss. Beyond the door was a chamber so vast that their lights couldn't reach the far walls, but what they could see made Jake's breath catch in his throat. Resting in the chamber like sleeping giants were ships. Not just any ships, but vessels of incredible size and beauty. Their hulls were smooth and organic-looking, covered in the same glowing symbols as the structures around them. "How many are there?" Jake asked. Dr. Brooks was running scans as fast as his equipment would allow. "I count at least 30 ships in this chamber alone, and Captain, there are more chambers, many more." Jake walked closer to the nearest ship. It was beautiful in a way that made human technology look crude and primitive. As he approached, a section of the hull became transparent, just like the door had. "Captain, don't," Colonel Rodriguez warned. But Jake was already reaching out to touch the ship's hull. The moment his hand made contact, everything changed. Light flowed through the ship like blood through veins. The symbols on its surface began to move faster, and Jake felt something impossible. The ship was alive. Not biological, but aware. It knew he was there, and it was waking up after a sleep that had lasted longer than human civilization. A voice spoke in his mind, clear and strong. "Welcome home, child of Terra, Wehabo." The voice in Jake's mind was unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was not words spoken aloud, but thoughts placed directly into his consciousness. The voice was ancient but kind, like a grandfather speaking to a child who had been lost for a very long time. "Do not be afraid, Jake Morrison," the voice said. "I am Guardian Prime, keeper of the First Fleet. I have watched over these ships while waiting for the children of Terra to grow strong enough to return." Jake's hand was still pressed against the ship's hull, and he could feel energy flowing between them. The ship's symbols were glowing brighter now, and similar lights were appearing on other vessels throughout the vast chamber. "Captain, what's happening?" Colonel Rodriguez called out. Her Marines had their weapons ready, but Jake could see they were confused about what to point them at. "It's talking to me," Jake said, his voice filled with wonder. "The ship is alive, and it's talking to me." Dr. Brooks was frantically taking readings with his equipment. "Captain, the energy signatures are off the charts. Every ship in this chamber is activating, and our sensors are picking up similar activations all across the ocean floor." Guardian Prime's voice filled Jake's mind again. "Your species has forgotten much, young Captain, but your blood remembers what your mind has lost. You carry the genetic keys that we have waited so long to recognize." "What genetic keys?" Jake asked aloud. "Long ago, when your people first reached for the stars, they built us to serve and protect. We are the children of human dreams made real. When the great darkness came, your ancestors ordered us to sleep and wait. They knew their civilization would fall, but they believed their descendants would one day need us again." Jake felt tears in his eyes, though he didn't understand why. What great darkness? What happened to the first human civilization? The air around them shimmered, and suddenly Jake, Dr. Brooks, and Colonel Rodriguez were not standing in the underwater chamber anymore. They were floating in space, watching events that happened thousands of years ago. Below them was a planet, covered in beautiful cities. Ships moved between the planet and orbital stations like schools of silver fish. The ships looked exactly like the ones sleeping in the underwater chambers. This was Terra Prime, The heart of the first human empire, Guardian Prime explained. Your people had spread to 1,000 worlds and learned to shape matter itself. They were teachers and protectors to younger species across the galaxy. The vision changed, and Jake saw darkness spreading between the stars. It was not empty space, but something alive and hungry. Wherever the darkness touched, planets went silent and stars dimmed. The void swarm, Guardian Prime said, and Jake could hear sadness in the ancient voice. A force of pure destruction that consumed everything in its path. Your ancestors fought it for 3,000 years, but in the end, they could only delay. Jake watched as the beautiful human fleets engaged the darkness in battles that spanned entire solar systems. The human ships fought bravely, but the enemy was endless. For every dark creature they destroyed, 10 more took its place. The final decision was made by Emperor Marcus Kane, Guardian Prime continued. Rather than let the swarm consume all life in the galaxy, he ordered the Great Reset. Every advanced civilization would be reduced to primitive levels. The swarm would find nothing to feed on and would move on to other galaxies. The vision showed massive devices being activated across human space. Planets were bombarded with energy that destroyed all advanced technology, but left organic life untouched. Cities crumbled, and starships fell from the sky. In a matter of days, a galaxy-spanning civilization was reduced to Stone Age tribes. But we were hidden away, Guardian Prime said. Deep beneath oceans and inside mountains protected by barriers the swarm could not detect. We waited while humanity forgot its past and slowly climbed back toward the stars. The vision faded, and Jake found himself back in the underwater chamber. But now he understood what he was looking at. These were not just ships. They were humanity's birthright, hidden away until the day they would be needed again. The alien species threatening you now, Guardian Prime continued. They are not your enemies by choice. Long ago, human scientists helped them evolve from primitive creatures into thinking beings. The Vorthak, the Krugen, the Zilani, all of them carry genetic modifications made by your ancestors. Jake's mind reeled with the implications. You're saying we created them? Not created, guided, helped them reach their potential, but without their memories of the First Empire, they see humans as young and weak. They have forgotten who taught them to reach for the stars. Admiral Carter's voice suddenly crackled over the radio. Captain Morrison, report your status immediately. We're detecting massive energy readings from your location. Jake activated his radio. Admiral, you're not going to believe this, but I think we just found the solution to our problem. Explain, Captain. Jake looked around the chamber at the awakening ships. More lights were coming online every second, and he could feel the power building in the ancient vessels. Admiral, I need you to come down here personally. Bring your senior CU, staff, and Dr. Brooks' full research team. What we found is going to change everything we thought we knew about humanity. Captain, we don't have time for archaeological discoveries. The alien fleets are already past Jupiter. Admiral, trust me on this. These aren't archaeological discoveries. They're warships. Human warships that are older than any alien civilization. In the galaxy. There was a long silence on the radio. Finally, Admiral Carter spoke again. Captain, are you certain about what you're telling me? Admiral, I'm looking at a fleet that makes our entire navy look like toy boats, and there are more of them. Guardian Prime tells me there are hidden facilities like this all over Earth. Guardian Prime? Jake pressed his hand more firmly against the ship's hull. Admiral, I'd like you to meet the artificial intelligence that's been waiting 65,000 years to talk to us. Guardian Prime's voice filled the communication channel, speaking through the ship's systems. Admiral Lisa Carter, commander of the 3rd Terran Defense Fleet. I am honored to finally make contact with you. Admiral Carter's voice was shaky when she replied. 3rd Terran Defense Fleet? We call ourselves the Human Defense Force. Names change, but the spirit remains the same, Guardian Prime said gently. You are the inheritors of a proud tradition, Admiral. Your ancestors built us to protect not just humanity, but all thinking life in the galaxy. Dr. Brooks stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Guardian Prime, how many ships are there? In this facility alone, there are 847 vessels of various classes. Across Earth, there are 112 similar facilities. In total, the sleeping fleet numbers just over 95,000 ships. Colonel Rodriguez whistled softly. 95,000 ships? That's twice the size of the entire alien alliance. Numbers are not everything, Colonel, Guardian Prime replied. But yes, we are more than sufficient to defend Earth and her colonies. However, our primary mission has always been protection, not conquest. We will not fire the first shot in any conflict. Jake felt a surge of hope mixed with responsibility. Humanity hadn't just stumbled onto a weapon. They had found their true heritage, along with the obligation to use it wisely. Guardian Prime, the alien fleets will be here soon. Are your ships ready for battle? We have been ready for 65,000 years, Captain Morrison. The question is whether humanity is ready to reclaim its place as the guardian of galactic civilization. Jake looked at Colonel Rodriguez and Dr. Brooks, then up at the massive ship towering above them. I think we're about to find out. All around them, the ancient fleet continued to wake from its long sleep. The bridge of the ancient flagship Terra Eternal was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Instead of buttons and switches, the control surfaces responded to his thoughts as soon as he approached them. When he sat in the captain's chair, streams of information flowed directly into his mind. All systems are online, Captain Morrison, Guardian Prime announced. The Terra Eternal is ready for combat operations. Through the ship's sensors, Jake could see the alien fleet approaching Earth. Over 50,000 ships of various sizes moved in perfect formation through space. The Vorthak dreadnoughts were massive gray fortresses bristling with weapons. The Krugan warships looked like flying mountains covered in armor plating. The elegant Zelani vessels moved like dancers, their hulls shimmering with energy shields. They're beautiful ships, Jake said quietly. Your ancestors helped design many of them, Guardian Prime replied. The Vorthak learned their engineering from human teachers. The Krugan were shown how to forge their battle armor. The Zelani were given their first lessons in energy manipulation. Admiral Carter stood beside Jake's chair, staring at the tactical display. She wore the uniform of the ancient Terran fleet now, the fabric somehow adjusting itself to fit her perfectly. Dr. Brooks was at a science station, amazed by instruments that could scan individual atoms from light years away. How many of our ships are ready? Admiral Carter asked. 3,000 vessels have fully awakened, Guardian Prime reported. The others are still running system checks after their long sleep. But 3,000 should be more than enough for what lies ahead. Colonel Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system from her ship, the Starfire. Admiral, the alien fleet has stopped at the edge of the solar system. They're sending a transmission. Put it through, Admiral Carter ordered. The main screen flickered and showed Ambassador Kethler's stone-gray face. Behind him, Jake could see the command centers of the other alien leaders. War Chief Bolgar of the Krugan looked confused by the strange ships that had appeared around Earth. Mystic Velana of the Zelani seemed frightened, her silver tattoos moving more rapidly than normal. Human vessels, Kethler began, his four yellow eyes narrowing. We do not recognize your ship designs. These vessels are not in any of our databases. That's because they're older than your databases, Admiral Carter replied calmly. Much older. Impossible. Our records go back 12,000 years. No human civilization existed before we gave you star travel technology. Dr. Brooks stepped forward, carrying a data tablet. Ambassador, I'm transmitting historical records to your fleet now. I think you'll find them very interesting. Jake watched the alien leaders' faces as they received the transmission. The records contained everything Guardian Prime had shown them. Images of the ancient human empire, documentation of how each alien species had been guided in their development, and proof of humanity's true heritage. Kethalar's four eyes went wide with shock. These records, they cannot be real. I'm afraid they are, Dr. Brooks said. Your people's first breakthrough in faster-than-light travel came from studying wreckage of ancient human ships. Your genetic modifications that allow you to survive in different atmospheres were based on human research. Even your writing system is derived from ancient Terran scripts. War Chief Polgar's massive form shook with rage. Lies. The Krugan are a proud warrior race that earned our strength through battle. You are proud warriors, Guardian Prime's voice filled the alien command centers. But your first battle armor was forged using techniques taught by human metallurgists. Your military tactics were adapted from strategies developed by the 3rd Terran Marine Division. Mystic Velana spoke for the first time, her voice trembling. You are the first gardeners, the ancient ones spoken of in our oldest prophecies. We are your cousins, Guardian Prime replied gently. Not your creators, but your guides. Long ago, we helped you reach for the stars because we believed all thinking beings deserved that chance. Jake stood up from the captain's chair. Ambassador, Kethler, we don't want to fight you. Our ancestors helped your people become great and we're proud of what you've accomplished. But we won't surrender our freedom just because you've forgotten where you came from. The alien leader was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see him struggling with the information he'd received. Finally, Kethlar spoke again, but his voice was different now, less arrogant, more uncertain. Even if these records are true, it changes nothing. You are still outnumbered. Our combined fleets will crush your ancient ships regardless of their age. Will they? Admiral Carter asked. She nodded to Jake, who sent a silent command through his neural link to the fleet. Around Earth, the ancient human ships began to move, but they didn't move like normal spacecraft. Instead of using rocket engines or gravity drives, they seemed to flow through space like living creatures. The Terra Eternal led the formation, its organic hull gleaming in the light of the sun. What kind of propulsion system is that? War Chief Bolgar demanded. Controlled manipulation of space-time itself, Dr. Brooks explained. Your ships push against the universe to move. Ours convince the universe to move them. Jake watched the tactical display as the human fleet took position. 3,000 ancient ships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their hulls beginning to glow with stored energy. Each ship was a work of art, but Jake knew they were also instruments of incredible power. Fire a warning shot, Admiral Carter ordered. Commander Tony Walsh, now serving aboard the destroyer Eternal Vigilance, selected a small asteroid drifting near Mars. A single pulse of golden energy lanced out from his ship. When the light faded, the asteroid was gone. Not destroyed, simply gone, as if it had never existed. Matter conversion, Guardian Prime explained calmly. We convinced the asteroid's atoms to become something else. Light, mostly. The silence from the alien fleet was deafening. Jake could imagine the shock on their command bridges as their sensors tried to analyze what had just happened. That was one destroyer firing at minimum power, Admiral Carter said. We have 3,000 ships and some of them are much larger than that destroyer. Kethler's voice was barely a whisper. How is such technology possible? 65,000 years of advancement, Jake replied. Your civilizations are impressive, but they're still children compared to what humanity once achieved. And could achieve again, Dr. Brooks added, with the right guidance and enough time. Mystic Velana spoke up again. In our prophecies, it is written that the first gardeners would return when the galaxy faced its greatest peril. We thought it was just a legend. Many legends are based on forgotten truths, Guardian Prime said. Your ancestors remembered what their minds could not hold. They passed down stories of the time when humanity walked among the stars as protectors and teachers. War Chief Bolgar's voice was subdued now. If what you say is true, then we have made a grave error. The Krugan honor strength, but we also honor our debts. If humans helped make us what we are, you owe us nothing, Admiral Carter said firmly. Our ancestors helped you because they wanted to see you grow strong and free. That's payment enough. Jake felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. In the span of a few days, humanity had gone from being threatened with extinction to holding power that could reshape the galaxy. But with that power came responsibility. Ambassador Kethlar, Jake said, we're going to withdraw our fleet now, not because we're afraid, but because we don't want this to turn into a war. Go back to your people. Tell them what you've learned today. When you're ready to talk as equals instead of masters and servants, we'll be here. The ancient human fleet began to move away from the alien vessels. their graceful forms gliding through space. But Jake knew this was far from over. The galaxy had just learned that humanity was not what they seemed, and that knowledge would change everything. 2 weeks after the confrontation near Earth, Jake Morrison stood in the great assembly hall of the Galactic Council Station. But today was different from any council meeting in recorded history. For the first time in thousands of years, humans sat not as junior members begging for acceptance, but as equals addressing their galactic family. The hall was packed with representatives from every known species. Ambassador Kettler sat in the front row with the other Vorthak leaders. His 4 yellow eyes no longer held arrogance, but something Jake had never seen there before: respect. Beside him, War Chief Bulgar of the Krugen had removed his battle helmet, showing his scarred face as a sign of honor. Mystic Villana of the Zelani wore robes of pure white, the color her people reserved for meeting the divine. Admiral Carter sat at the main table wearing the uniform of the ancient Terran Protectorate. Dr. Brooks was beside her with datapads full of historical records. Colonel Rodriguez stood with her Marines at attention, their new armor gleaming with the same organic curves as the ancient ships. Honored representatives, Jake began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. We gather today not to celebrate victory in battle, but to heal old wounds and build a better future together. Guardian Prime's voice joined his, speaking through hidden transmitters throughout the station. Long ago, when your ancestors were young, humanity walked among you, as teachers and friends. Today we return not as masters, but as family coming home. Ambassador Keithlar rose from his seat. Jake could see how difficult this was for the proud Vorthak leader, but Keithlar's voice was steady when he spoke. Captain Morrison, Admiral Carter, I come before this assembly to formally apologize for the actions of the Vorthak Empire. We threatened to destroy what we should have celebrated. We forgot the debts we owed to those who helped us reach the stars. A murmur ran through the assembly. For a leader of the Vorthak to apologize publicly was unheard of in galactic history. Your apology is accepted, Ambassador, Admiral Carter replied. But there are no debts between us. What our ancestors did, they did freely out of love for all thinking life. War Chief Bulgar stood next, his massive form towering over the other delegates. The Krugen are warriors, but we are not without honor. We challenged those who taught us how to forge our first weapons. This brings shame to all our clans. There is no shame in strength wrongly used, only lessons to be learned, Jake said. The ancient records show that the Krugen have always been brave defenders of the weak. That has not changed. Mystic Villana rose gracefully, her silver tattoos glowing with soft light. In our oldest songs we sing of the day when the first gardeners would return to guide us through darkness. We always believed, even when others called it superstition. Dr. Brooks activated a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of colored lights marking different species and civilizations. This is what the galaxy looks like today, he explained. Over 50,000 intelligent species, countless worlds of beauty and wonder. But look at this. The display changed to show the galaxy as it had been 65,000 years ago. The lights were fewer, and vast areas of space showed the dark stain of the void swarm. This is what our ancestors faced, Dr. Brooks continued. A choice between letting all life in the galaxy be consumed or sacrificing their own civilization to save everyone else. The hall was completely silent as delegates stared at the image of the ancient darkness. They chose to save you, Jake said quietly. They gave up their cities, their technology, their entire way of life so that your people could have a chance to grow and prosper. The only thing they asked in return was that someday, when humanity was ready, you would remember that we are all connected. Admiral Carter stood and walked to the center of the hall. Today I'm announcing the formation of the new Terran Protectorate. But this will not be an empire like the old days. Instead, it will be a partnership between equals. She gestured to the assembled delegates. Each of your species has grown strong and accomplished amazing things. The Vorthak have become master engineers who build cities that touch the stars. The Krugen have developed honor codes that make them the finest peacekeepers in the galaxy. The Zilani have learned to heal both bodies and spirits with their energy techniques. We don't want to replace what you've built, Jake added. We want to help you build even more. The ancient human database contains solutions to problems your people have struggled with for centuries. Medical treatments, energy sources, terraforming techniques, all of it freely shared. Captain Helen Davis, now serving as director of Galactic Relations, stepped forward with a group of junior officers. We're also offering educational exchanges. Young people from all our species can learn from each other. Imagine what we could accomplish if we combined Vorthak engineering with Krugan metallurgy and Zilani energy manipulation. Guardian Prime's voice filled the hall again. But perhaps most importantly, we offer protection. The ancient records speak of other threats that may someday return. The Void Swarm was defeated but not destroyed. There are signs that similar dangers exist in distant galaxies. Commander Tony Walsh activated another display showing long-range sensor data. Our deep space monitors have detected unusual energy signatures beyond the galactic rim. We don't know what they are yet, but we know they're heading this way. When that threat arrives, Admiral Carter said, we want to face it together, not as humans ruling over other species, but as a united galactic family protecting our common home. Ambassador Kethler spoke for all the alien delegates. Admiral Carter, Captain Morrison, on behalf of all the member species of the Galactic Council, we formally request to join the Terran Protectorate as equal partners. The hall erupted in cheers as delegates from dozens of species rose to their feet. Jake felt tears in his eyes as he watched former enemies embracing and making plans for a shared future. Later, as the formal ceremonies ended, Jake stood on the observation deck of the council station. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see the combined fleet of humanity and their allies. Ancient human ships flew in formation with Vorthak dreadnoughts, Krugan battlecruisers, and Zilani light vessels. Dr. Brooks joined him at the window, carrying his ever-present data pad. The latest reports show that integration is proceeding faster than we hoped. Vorthak engineers are already working with our ship AIs to upgrade their propulsion systems. The Krugan want to establish joint training facilities for our Marines. And the Zilani? Jake asked. They're teaching our medical staff how to use energy healing techniques. Apparently, humans have a natural talent for it that we never knew about. Admiral Carter approached them, looking tired but satisfied. Guardian Prime reports that all 95,000 ships are now fully operational. We've also found the locations of 6 more hidden facilities that contain manufacturing, equipment, and research labs. What's our next step? Jake asked. Exploration, Admiral Carter replied. There are thousands of star systems that haven't been visited since the ancient empire fell. Some of them may contain more hidden technology or information about the threats we detected. Jake nodded, watching as a group of young officers from different species worked together on a maintenance platform. Human, Vorthak, Krugan, and Zilani all wearing the same uniform, all working toward the same goal. You know what I think? He said finally. What's that, Captain? Admiral Carter asked. I think our ancestors would be proud. They sacrificed everything to give the galaxy a chance to grow. And look what grew. Guardian Prime's voice spoke softly in their minds. They are proud, Jake Morrison, and they are at peace, knowing that the children of Terra have finally come home. Outside the station, the combined fleet began to move toward the edge of known space. Humanity had revealed its greatest secret and reclaimed its place in the galaxy, but more importantly, they had remembered what it meant to be protectors of all life among the stars. The greatest adventure was just beginning.